With Cohen Home Renovators and Handy Services, and our main focus is, there's no job too big or too small. We can do home renovations as far as kitchens and bathrooms, but we'll come and install that faucet for you, fix that thing of sheetrock where the hole is, so we won't turn anything down. But I joined, or going to join the local business networking with a BNI, and actually received more referrals from coming to one of these versus that, so it's a little bit cheaper, but it's worked out just from one meeting. So y'all can benefit from me for just there's always something that needs to be fixed around the house. So I mean, start there and get bigger.
Yeah. Mark.
I'm Mark Fuchs. Most of you know me. Every one of us has a business that is referral based, and by that I mean I grow my business based on referrals from people that I work with, people that I have relationships with who know other people who need help. And that's the whole purpose of being part of Low Country Business Network. It's to build relationships with folks so that they can know you, know the kind of person you are, and trust their friends by referring them to you to do business with them. So that's what we all ought to be doing, is referring our friends to the people that we've gotten in a relationship with in LBN. So that's, I think Glenn's going to tell us how to do that.
Yeah, you might. You want to tell us about the real estate studio with us?
I've done this.
Do a little intro. Are you comfortable with that?
Oh, sure. We've been here about 5 years, and we sell real estate. The other concept is a soft sell, so you don't have people kind of jumping down your throat when you walk in. But we also support local artists, and they come in here and we have shows for them as well. And we also do events.
How often do you change out the shows, Susan?
Every 6 weeks. We have
And
new artists.
every 6 weeks you have an open house to show off the artist, right?
Yes, we sure do. One, maybe two every 6 weeks for every artist.
Yeah, they're networkers also.
My name is Michelle, my friends call me Mickey. I work with Coastal Carolina Home Watch. We are brand new to the Charleston area. We do have a location in Roseland that's very successful, it's been in business since 2005. On a professional level, I suppose, like all of you, I'm looking for referrals. On a personal level, I just want to get to know like-minded individuals. It's very hard being single and not having the baseball field to meet moms at, and not wanting to go to the bar and meet crazy people. So that's kind of what you can do for me. I hope that in return I can kind of do the same for you.
And if you think about it, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 people who could be in a little power team here together, and that's what we want you guys to start creating is, Jill's a dog trainer, but she's in people's homes all the time.
Sure.
3 people. And then how many homes are you guys in that people have animals that need to train? So let's start thinking about how you can put these power teams together. Okay? So you can help each other. And if that might just be your little group, okay, and that's it, that's who you focus on, but at least you got to focus on promoting certain things. So.
I love networking. I'm Diane Garcia. I represent Dr. Hunt, who's a chiropractor, Charleston Spine Center. We're in North Charleston, right off Rivers. She's been my doctor for over 2 years, and I kept thinking, I'd love to work for her, so now I do. And really, what I find wonderful about her office is it's friendly, yet it's very professional. It's high technology. But most importantly, she's building relationships. She just doesn't want to see a patient so many times, get a drunk or whatever, and maybe never see them again. She wants long-term results. And of course, we're wellness, health and wellness, holistic in nature. One of the new things we've just come out with, we're adding to our clinic, is Take Shape for Life. Now, their mission for 30 years with the Medifast meal replacements is to make America healthy. And that's what we want to do. And so it's a nice networking fit. So You know, for some it may be a little drive to get there, but what we can offer is diverse and full, potentially highest health we can possibly receive. So certainly just, it's a fun for us.
Great. I'm Marcy Jacobs. I know most of you. I've been coming to love that business for a few years now. I'm an entrepreneur. I have a couple things going on. Most of you know about the game, my game I created, Story Club, which is a game that gets friends connecting, creating, and laughing their heads off. A really fun night. Many of you have played it. We played it here. But recently I've gotten involved in a company called Rodan and Fields, where the two doctors that created Proactive Solution for acne, built it to a $6 billion business, are doing the same thing for aging skin, which we are all concerned about. So my goal is to help people get the best skin of their lives, and this Story Club is to get people laughing their heads off. Make for a great life. Exactly.
I'm Jill Lundgren, and I am over from the Coastal Canine Academy, and I say train them, don't blame them. And as I find, most all dogs have little issues through their changes in life. It's not just puppyhood, but as they grow and as they express different stresses, that they can not be the nice little doggy you had all the time. But it might just be one problem, one issue. So my goal is, I go into the home, I like to have fun. I enjoy doing what I do. I enjoy seeing the difference in not only the dogs and the puppies, but also in the people's lives, how I can reduce the stress level in the home because of the issue that a dog has caused. And that's exciting to me to just think, I didn't know my dog could do that. I didn't know you could come in here one time and make such a difference. Does it always happen the first time? No, not always. Sometimes I'll have that shy, reserved dog and that over-exuberant dog. It may take more than one time, but I have a lot of fun doing what I'm doing. I've worked with some people here, and you can ask them what they think. But I can make a difference in people's lives and lower the stress level. And I have fun doing what I do. I'm not one of those trainers that's going to jerk you around I'm in there to help you, and I'm more than just a trainer. I'm going to give you ideas on health and nutrition and safety for your dog too. And if you don't want to come to me, just go to my Facebook page on Coastal Canine, and I offer lots of helpful tips there, that things I think would help you and your dog relationship, or little tips and tricks that are inexpensive, because we all want to save money. So, Jill Lundgren with Coastal Canine.
Raquel Richards, I think most of you know me, but I'm a personal trainer with Fitness Boom. We just had our grand opening this past weekend, so if you're interested in functional fitness, which is core stabilization, making sure that you have strength with your everyday activities, our target market is 45 to 65. Besides being a personal trainer, I'm new to Charleston, moved here in April, looking to really connect with people. That's the reason I'm here in LBN, and I like to help people, so if there's some way I can help you, don't hesitate to let me know.
Well, I'm Aaron Bornich. I've met everybody here now, and I guess the reason I'm here and the reason we're all here is to build relationships, because no matter what we do in life, business, personal, it's all based through relationships. So that's what I'm here for. And if I if I can do anything to help you, let me know. And hopefully I'll have something that y'all might be able to help me with in the future.
What do you do?
I do financial planning.
I'm Boy Stout, Kinetic High Five, and we have shows, and you may listen to them. That's about it.
Like it. A little mystery there, Greg.
I'm Greg Morris. I'm a speaker and a trainer, consultant for business. Currently getting ready to open up another dealership in Charleston. So be back in the car business maybe. No, I will. But yeah, that's me.
I'm Glenn Sojourner, one of the co-founders of the Low Country Business Network, and also have Charleston Internet Marketing for web design, search engine optimization, and social media consulting, along with Ellen. And we also have Go Mobile Charleston, which is about mobile marketing. This is our newest thing that we've added, and really excited about it. And like the rest of y'all, we're here looking for business relationships and personal relationships. Thanks.
Awesome. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and introduce our speaker and get started here. Glenn, come on up. For those of you that don't know Glenn, he's an LBN member. I've known Glenn for a year and a half now. He is amazing at what he does. He's a personal coach. When we think about coaching, we go, oh, another one of those life coaches. He has the ability to help you with your personal relationships. Who does not have a problem with a personal relationship? Raise your hand if you don't have any problems. Does anybody have problems in business relationships? Who doesn't have a problem? I mean, you know, we've all got, there's so many different aspects of our lives, and if we just tweak these little things and thought about things a little bit differently, and I'm hoping I'm giving you the right intro that you want here, but this is kind of the way that I see this and the way that I see you. There are these small little tweaks that we can make in our life, okay, where we can show up in our relationships differently, and this is what I want LBN to hear. How do you show up for your network? How do I show up for you and you and you and you and you and you and you? And I can't show up for everybody every day, but if I show up for one person a day, every single day, then I've made a huge impact over the long term. So that's what we want to talk about today. So without further ado, Glenn Cohen.
Thank you. Glenn, thank you for inviting me, number one. Great intro, darling. But what I'll add to that,
yes,
it's not so much how we can show up, it's how can we stop ourselves from not showing up. That's really all about flow. So a little bit about me. I was born and raised here in Charleston, and went to pharmacy school, and my father had a chain of drugstores. And he sold May 6, I kept one, another one, got married. And in May 1994, I sold my stores, and from that point, my life changed forever. Within the next 3 to 5 years, I found myself at the absolute bottom. All these things happened. So I was there, I was going, okay, something's really not right with this picture. I know I'm not stupid, all right? I mean, the tree that I fell off of, it doesn't match. So I said, I gotta figure this out. So I just started reading and studying, and I tried to figure out everything about the eye. So I was just consumed with this mission. So then I got into this crazy relationship with this woman. It was really chaotic. So I got to figure this out too. So I started studying about couples and reading and going to workshops. And in this journey, realized God's purpose for why was the Bible. Was to learn and get out and help others. And I've been on this mission now for like 13 years. And the material that I'm presenting to you today is really the culmination of that. It's really in the last couple of years really have come together. And what I've done is, you know, so many amazing people that I've read about. I've listened to audio books and been to workshops. And my library is quite extensive. But you know, I was like, I like this, I like that, I like this. Oh, that makes a lot of sense to me. So I just said, over the last decade, just started pulling this together, matching all these other people's stuff. Because why I reinvent the wheel, right? Just kind of change out entirely. And just started putting it together. And over the last, really 3 years, you know how when you make it a sentence like this and then two, all right? That's what's happening. So now, I'm getting ready to begin writing the third book. And this is y'all one of the first people to really hear the absolute this stuff. So what I want to do right now is kind of separate the room in two, okay? Marcy, would you like to be a righty or a lefty?
A righty.
Okay, so you're the righty. Over here are my lefties, okay?
Well,
so
maybe
here
there's
over.
more people on the right, I'll be on the left.
Okay, fine, you can balance it out.
Okay.
Okay, so now, as I tell this little story, the righties will, you know who you are, the lefties of it. You are righties. Good, you're
Well-
right.
You're on.
So you know what? Just so we don't get confused, you're left, you're right.
There we
All right. It's a better way of doing it. All right. So it's according to yours. What's this top of the good so? Left,
We're left, right.
Okay. So everybody take a couple deep breaths. I want you to just relax. We're going to take a journey. We're going to get each one of you have your own boat. Okay? And we're going to take a trip down the lazy river. And we're going to experience flow. So you're in your cute little boat, you know, you're driving. You picture this really beautiful river. You can just see in front of you, it's just, you just feel good. It's flowing, the sun is shining. There's not a care in the world. It's so peaceful. And you're just present. Nothing's happening. All of a sudden, my right is, your wheel turns. And all of a sudden, all you see is these rocks in front of you. Oh my God. Right? You feel it? It's just rocks. And you guys on the left one. What the hell happened now? Right? It's floating around. But all of a sudden, your wheel turns to the left. And you're looking at this cliff. And you're freaking out. Because you're about to go over the cliff. You came out of flow. The question is, why did you tear your wheel and jerk it? Why did you jerk yours to the right? And why did you jerk yours to the left? That's what we're going to talk about today. Is how we come out of flow. Because you were there. And then you took yourself out. So, my friends who come to the right, they saw the rocks of rigidity, where they got tense, and they pulled in, and they withdrew. My friends on the left, who saw the cliffs of chaos, just started freaking out. Have I really that? When you're in flow and everything is kind of good, and then in a nanosecond, the boat turns. And your focus goes into the rocks or to the cliffs. Right? Anybody experience that? If you have, say aye.
Aye.
So, why? Why do we do that? Let's take a step back, let's look at the bigger picture and say, okay, what do we want to create here? What is the whole purpose of understanding about flow? I really believe what defines flow is what I call joy. Joy is defined by the pH balance. That is what we experience, and let me step back again. Everything in life is 80-20. Ain't no such thing as perfection. We strive for it, but we'll never get it. So we do reward it. So you don't want to get very well. But we're perfectly imperfect people. So give yourself a break. If you get 80%, then you're doing good. Okay? Pat yourself on the back. So we want to obtain the pH balance 80% of the time. That is, we have peace within us. We have purpose of our mission on earth. And we have passion for what we're doing and who we're with. Our health is good. We're truly just happy, and the relationships we have are harmonious. Now, if you can have all that 80% of the time, you think you stay afloat? Sounds pretty good, doesn't it? Not bad. So, what we want to look at then is how do we obtain, and what is the elements really that go into taking us out of this space? I'll give you a little hint. It's not anything outside of you. It really all has to do with how we put meaning in the moment. How we put meaning to things in the past, and how that affects us in the present. When we look at how we show up in a state of flow, or what takes us out of flow, it's really about 3 traits that we have. I call them the relational traits. It's our thinking traits, our thought process, which affects our emotional state, which then affects our behavior patterns. Because really, when you're out there on flow and you turn that wheel, You're making a decision, whether consciously or unconsciously, to do that. You just don't realize it at the time. So, what is it that affects those three patterns that causes us to turn that wheel? Let's look at, now I'm an acronym junkie. I use them all the time. I have a glossary of terms I give my clients that's 7 pages long, just so they can understand my language. So, when we are in flow and we're present, we are connected to what I call the we have. I learned this concept from, everybody heard Daniel Siegel, his work? Phenomenal stuff. He's got a tape series called Neurobiology of We, if everybody wants to listen to it. Unbelievable. So, when we're in the middle of the river, we're flexible. And I use the term Oprah. Remember the movie Pretty Woman? When she said, lay like broccoli? Lay like Oprah. We're open, we're curious, we're reflective, and we're adaptive. Think about those 4 qualities. If you have those 4 qualities, how well can you stay in that space? And when we do that, we create what I call safe relationships. Now think about these, because we all have 4 relationships in our lives. One we have with ourselves, which is absolutely the most important. Then our intimate partner. Then our personal relationships with family, friends. And then our professional relationships. So they're all interconnected. So think about all 4 of these relationships being safe, where the S stands for synergy. Think about clients, or when you're networking or working with customers. When you are attuned to communications, you're present, you can feel them. You know where they're going, what they want. You're listening. That's an attuned communication. The A is acceptance. How many relationships are damaged because one or the other really doesn't accept what is? The F is flexibility, denoted by Oprah. And the E is the most important quality, empathy. Because if we have empathy, we're not thinking about the I. We're thinking about me, right? But on the other hand, if we're taking our wheel, we're jerking it to the right or left, we're more focused on the I habits. Here is when we go to the left and we see the rocks, the cliffs of chaos, that's really people who are expanding their energy. When they shift, their energy expands. The people who go toward the rocks of rigidity contract. It's a habitual way of thinking, our emotions, and our behaviors. Think about yourself. What is your modus operandi when you jerk your wheel? Do you expand out? Do you collapse in? And each one of those traits, your thoughts, your emotions, and your behaviors. Because the thoughts is where it all begins. And that affects your emotional state. And those two have a huge impact on the decisions you make with your behaviors. Right? Make sense? Any questions? Very good. We're flowing? We're flowing.
We're still trying to avoid it.
I know. Okay. So why do we do all these things? How do we adopt all of these habits? Where do they come from? All right? So we're going to do a little neurobiology work here. Let's talk about the mind. Now everybody thinks about the mind as being just up here. That's not it. That's the brain. The mind is our body. We have neurons all throughout our body that are all connected. So there's really 4 levels. One is our conscious cortex, I call it. This is where, when we're in flow, we're really focused here. The mind's eye is straight ahead. The next layer down is the limbic system. Now this is really the fun area. This is where we play all the games. Okay? This is where we have memory. And the reason we jerk our wheels goes memory. We're going to get into this. So there's two types of memory. There's extrinsic memory, which is more focused on our history. You know, last year on my birthday, I went to Basel at 7:45, yada, 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 yada. So you can tell a story, right? You retrieve the story, and you can tell it very coherently. Now, the other area of memory is called intrinsic. Now that, when we lay track for intrinsic memory, we do so outside of our awareness. And we can retrieve it outside of our awareness. So for whatever reason, we can retrieve a memory from 20 years ago and not even realize it. Don't even know. So the next layer down is the reptilian part of the brain, the brainstem, which connects us to all the animals. Fight, flight, freeze, body regulation, heart rate, breathing rate. Then we have body proper, because you have neurons all around your stomach, your intestines, your heart, your lungs, all your muscles. They're all connected. So that's an extension of the mind. So, as we are growing up, and there's 6 stages of our development as youth. But what they're finding out that intrinsic memory starts in the 3rd trimester. You're actually laying down memory before you were born. So as we go through all these stages, we're recording a movie. Okay? We're watching these events. And the interesting part is you can have 2 people, identical twins, standing side by side watching the same movie, and they come out with totally different views of it. Totally different views. Why is that? So, as we're watching this movie, we're thinking to ourselves, what does this mean? How to make sense of this? As we go through this process of making sense of and adopting meaning, we're laying down memory. Okay? The neurons in the intrinsic memory maintain and retain the inherent energy and information composed in your meaning. See that? So it's laying there. It's just sitting there waiting for you to retrieve anytime you want. So you're sitting there driving down the lazy river, and you see something. And for whatever reason, you access the outside of your awareness and your intrinsic memory, the inherent nature of the meaning of the story you told yourself whenever some other time. And in that moment, you shift. It's called link dancing. You link up, you're observing the present moment, you're putting meaning to the present moment based off of meaning from the past, and you turn to it. How many times have people, have you been in a situation where everything was cool, and a nanosecond, and it all changed, and you had no idea why? Zero. You thought you did in the moment, but after you thought about it, you go, why? I got that upset that happened. You know, you couldn't make sense of it, right? It didn't make any sense. The golden rule of flow, and if you take anything away from today, is this. Fear and love cannot coexist in the same space. And reactivity and safety cannot coexist in the same space. When we link up and we shift, we become reactive. Reactivity is defined as the manifestation and projection of rigid or chaotic thoughts, emotions, and behavior. Okay? What is fear? Anybody want to tell me where it's located at? Is there a fear doctor who can do a transplant? Where is fear located at? Anybody have an answer? Can you Google it? No?
In your brain.
Is there an organ?
No.
Denying accusing, blaming, and assuming. How good are we at those? All right? Now, in order to make sure that those guys are supported in the web, we're really good at jarring, justifying the rationale. All right? How good are we at taking the story, somebody else will give us an explanation, we can turn that sucker around so make sure that it's our story. If it doesn't match our script, we'll change the matchup. Right? So now let's come to, so we got all this laid out, right? So now let's come to present day. Because in the sequence of events, which I call the I cycle, there's 5 points on the front end, which is the I part, and then 5 points on the back end, which is the we part. No matter whether the we is an intimate relationship, a business relationship, the relationship you have with the children, it doesn't matter. It's all the same. So on the front side, on the I part, I call it the 5 P's. First 2 about the past, we just talked about. The last 3 about the present. That's where we can do some work. There's 3 major principles of my work. Number 1, principle 1. The ebb and flow of how we generate, receive, and share information and energy will determine the success of your relationships. How you generate it inside yourself, how you receive it from others, and how you can share it back. Number 2, you have to accept absolute personal responsibility for all of your thoughts, emotions, and behaviors. Cannot blame anybody, anything, no how, no way, no advance, bus back. Except everyone. Number 3.
Not even the economy.
Nope. No. Zip. Never ever give your power away. That's a slippery slope. Been there, done that. The third one is, it's an attitude. It's a way of looking at the world when you say that you recognize the relationships are all about challenging. They challenge you to be inspired to learn, to stretch, to grow, to change, and inspire the world. True. Right? When you have that attitude, how you show up with relationships, it changes your story. Right? So let's go back to the 5 P's and see how these 3 principles play out in this cycle. So, you know, you're kind of cruising down the lazy river. Maybe in the seat next to you is my partner, one of your friends, your kids, co-worker, customer, whoever. Somebody's in the seat next to you. And all of a sudden they say something, they do something, whatever. And in that moment, you're processing, evaluating that. You're asking 4 questions. Because we're always asking these 4 questions hundreds of times every day. Am I safe or is this dangerous? The unconscious mind is evaluating. All right? If you say I'm safe, how does that affect your flow? Right? You're totally focused on the we happens. Right? You're not even thinking about turning that wheel. But if you say it's dangerous, you're primed. You're ready. It's animalistic behavior. Okay? You're on high alert. Why? Right? What does this remind me of? Is the second question. So you're going back to, okay, what can I match up with? It's match story of mine. Remind me of anything. Having experience with it. Boy, talk about dangerous game there. The third one is, how do I make sense of it? And we all know what the fourth one is. What does this mean? Depending on how we answer that first question, the last question in particular. Because the first one just will dominate everything. And then the last one, though, is where we have the chance to change our lives. So if we attach a meaning to whatever it is we're evaluating that matches up to one of our stories, to one of our unresolved memory wounds, with the fear and the language, in that moment, we shift. So then when we do, remember, we're nothing but nature and energy, right? When we shift, how many times have you been in somebody's presence? When they shift, you can feel it. Anybody felt that? If you have, say aye. You know, it's just, you can feel, whoa, it's like a vibrating wave, just, what happened, right? It's really, it's hard to say wrong. When you're attuned to it, and you can sense it. So, all of a sudden, you know, you shift. Now, what I want you to imagine now is in that moment that you wake up, I want you to see yourself moving to the right of the steering wheel, and you look to your left, and there's this gargoyle-looking face, this troll. He's looking at you, he took over your wheel. He hijacked your boat, and you let him. You let him hijack. Right? That's what we do. So once he hijacks the boat, what happens? Then, inherently, we all have in our traits, in modus operandi, either your thoughts go on overdrive, right? And we're, you know, Indianapolis 500 in our heads, or we're cloudy with meatballs, and we can't. So if you're rigid, you're cloudy with meatballs, and if you're chaos, you're the 8500, right? Who is 8500 head when they get triggered? Who's cloudy with meatballs? I'm a cloudy with meatballs guy. So, most guys are. Most guys are rigid, tendency. Most feminine energy is chaotic. Masculine energy is gentle. Okay, so here we shifted. Our troll's just laughing his butt off at us because he knows he took control. He's kept it going. So what has happened to our emotional state? Right? Silence. Are you rigid? Are you chaotic? Are you putting out tremendous amount of energy to others? Are you throwing a pebble in the pond or a bowl? Everybody else is going to feel it. I mean, you know. How many times have you been in a business environment with a customer or something, you linked up, and you know because you had a shift happen, that you messed up? Yeah. Everybody heard of that? So. But then we move to the fifth key. This is what makes all the difference. This is where procedure. Our lives are so much defined by the decisions we make in the moment where we're to shift. We all shift. It's inherent nature. How many times have we made defining decisions in the moment of shift that has altered our destiny? That's the reason I'm here today. Many years ago, I made a decision that absolutely altered my destiny. It took me a while to figure out why and what to do with it, but I thought I did. So in that moment that we have shift, or in any time that we're faced with a decision, there's only two ways we go about making that decision. Either we're using our conscious mind to respond from an empowered, centered place, or we're using our unconscious mind where we're reacting. There we're unconscious. We're disempowered by our meanings. We've given our power away. We're doing the jar all over the place. So it's one of those. All right? So we're, you know, if we're responding, God bless you. I don't, you know, if you're there, you're not looking to harm me, right? People harm me because they're reacting. You know, I'm doing a great workshop with a company in town right now. There's a couple of people in there who's got some serious reactive issues. We're kind of like doing a whole group thing, going around the back door. It's very, very cool. So in the fifth P, if you're reacting, then everybody remember the movie series Rambo, right? Remember Rambo had that backpack? We had all his weapons, right? We all have our own Rambo in us. We all have our favorite weapons of choice, right? I call them relationship killer weapons. And when we get reactive, there are two different types of weapons we have. These weapons are minimizing, criticizing, spiteful verbal darts, going up the eyes, condescending attitude, throwing things, kicking, spitting, pitching, you know. The list goes on and on. Passive aggressive behaviors, tantrums, rages. God, my favorite. But there's two in particular we usually use, particularly in our intimate relationships. First, when we shift and we, again, perceive that we are doing wrong, our story tells us that we need to blame and point our fingers. Usually, we will use the same weapons that we use as children toward others to get attention and to get, depending on the nature of the fear and your story, you know, if your wound was love and you didn't feel love, then what are you going to do? Think about the nature of the weapons you use to get it. Of course, you never get it that way. If that doesn't work, then we use the same weapons our parents so gracefully taught us how to use, because they applied it on us and everybody else in the family. So we became masters because we watched the movie, right? Everybody here know about the law of attraction? Are you familiar with it? Whatever you focus on, you get. Energy flows, protection goes. Here's the funny thing about ones and relationships. So if we are lost in our story, and we are in a reactive state, and we are shooting out weapons, now we're going to go to the backside of the cycle. We're really telling the universe to bow this. I want an Oscar for my movie. So I'm going to do whatever the hell it takes. So other people respond back to me to validate the fact that my movie is an Oscar-winning movie. And it's right. Right? Because I want you to respond to me so I can go back home, look in the mirror and say, damn it, I told you so. You are no good. You are not loved. You are not accepted. You're not good enough. Right? How many people identify with that? Say aye. Seriously. That's what we do. It's an unconscious agenda. So the first point on the backside of the weak part of the cycle is we show up in a way so the universe responds back to us to validate the original belief. Hence, the cycle of pain. This is where we get lost. This is where people live for either a couple minutes, a couple hours, a couple days, months, years, or decades. How many people you know are lost in their story? They're on that river just going, just out of control. They don't have any peace within them. What kind of purpose is that? What is their passion? Do they have a true passion for life? Themselves, their partner, their work, their community? How healthy is their thoughts, emotions, behavior? Are they truly, truly happy? And how harmonious is all their communications? Make sense? So, please forgive me for looking at my watch, but I've got to do another workshop at 9:30, so I'm just trying to continue. I'm going to go into one of the exercises I teach. I think it will be valuable to you. I call it there are 5 skill sets I teach. They're called the 5 C's. You can tell I call it actors. The first one is the control. How to manage reactive information and energy inside yourself. There's 4 parts to it. The first part is the most critical. Okay? I call it IBIS. If I say IBIS.
IBIS.
Identify, break, soothe. Say identify, break, soothe.
Identify, break, soothe.
When we link up, engage our story, turn on our movie maker, and our control is at the wheel, we are linking up into intrinsic memory, okay, in the limbic system, which then is primed, hits the brainstem, 5-alarm fire, fight, flight, freeze, energy rushes into the body. Remember the TV show Lost in Space? Remember the robot? Will Robinson? What happened when Will Robinson was out,
Warning.
doing his thing?
Warning.
Danger, Will Robinson, danger, danger. Remember that? All right. If you can identify your inherent signal after brainstem is tapped, it'll flow. If it's a low-level reaction, it'll flow. If it's a high-level reaction, it's going to flood the body. All right? There's 3 progressive signals usually: primary, secondary, tertiary. If you can identify the signal, if you're rigid, okay, I call those people innies. Chaos or eyes, right? Innies. I feel pressure, I feel like somebody just, like, one of my clients, like the Lone Rangers in the lasso being just, you just feel this clap. Or somebody just loaded me in a barometric chamber, Or I feel like my fingers got stuck in an electric socket like Tom and Jerry on the cartoon. Outies. I just feel this energy in my stomach, like it's just rising up. My heart is racing, my face gets really hot. There are signals that your body's telling you, hello, wake up. Because your conscious mind is at lunch. It has no idea this crap's going on. Because you're going totally from limbic down. You bypass the conscious mind. In order to break the movie, and to break this, because all this is habit. In order to break the habit, you have to bring your conscious mind back. To override the firing pattern and change it. There was a study done where they took these college students and they gave them a piece of music to learn on piano. So half the group played, practiced on the piano. They recorded brain waves. And they could see thickening in this area of the brain where they learned. Then they took the second group and did the same thing, except there was one difference. They didn't have a piano. They had to visualize it, learn it in their head visually, and they had the same growth. Really? Not easy. We can change the structure of our brain. We can change connections. It's all possible. So when we can recognize these 3 signals, and we can say, well, the act of recognition is engaging the prefrontal motor cortex of our mind, which has 9 basic functions that we need to grab onto and focus on in order to really become emotional intelligence. So if we can recognize a signal, bring it up here and say, oh hell, I'm going to shift. Shift is happening. Right? Then, that's the I of this, identification. Then we go to the B. You want to break the state. You want to get the conscious mind to say, calm down, stop. Right? And actually, when you do this, it releases a chemical called GABA. GABA being butyric acid, called GABA goo. Just think of this like oily, greasy thing sliding down from the top of the brain to the limbic and just cooling it off. So to break the state, you come up with a visual or a verbal command. Something lighthearted, humorous. Something in your past. Anytime you think of it, you chuckle. Right? Think about the act of doing that, engaging your mind to turn focus. All right? Because right now we're unconsciously focused on some meaning in the past that we're linking up to that's firing off all these neurons. But if we bring back and we interrupt that fire pattern, we can change focus. Okay? Then the third step of this, soothing. 4 long, slow, deep breaths. And then put yourself in the most amazing, relaxing place in the world. Soothe. It brings you back to center. That right here, if you can just do that, that's only the first of 4 steps. If you can do that one step, you can start interrupting this. All this stuff I talked about, that happens. Nobody's broken, nobody needs to be fixed. We just got some bad habits. And we reinforce them because we keep engaging them, right? So if you can use it, you start interrupting these patterns, all right? Because what you want to do is identify them, interrupt them, replace them, and condition them. if you take a big umbrella and put it all over my work, the way I want to wrap this up today is, okay, you ever see the movie Pandora? Not Avatar. Right? The planet was Pandora. And the Adi people had a tree of life, right? That was connected to everything, AWA. I took that and kind of changed. I love the meaning of AWA. You know, everything's interconnected. I call it AUA, AWA. Hopefully today, you got a little awareness of how this stuff works. And an awareness of possibly sometimes you let go of the wheel. Maybe why? The U is understanding of some information and some strategies to create some change. And then the A is application. Because in order to change habits and to create a different destiny, you have to apply it every day on a continual basis to create change. I hope all of you do that. Just remember, show up for yourselves first. Stay in flow within you, and then flow with others.